Hey everyone, Corsair here, back again with another Spongebob time card walkthrough. I'm going to be using my previous Photoshop file I used to create my first time card video. So you don't have to go back and watch my first video. My canvas size is 1920 by 1080, and I will link below the assets that I'm using. Like previously, the end creation will result in an entirely royalty-free version of the Spongebob time card. I've modified the flower asset a little bit to be more on par with what the time card flowers actually look like. Here's what my process looks like for modifying the flower. I am adding a mask to the smart object, so I'm being non-destructive. Then I'm using a hard brush to hide some of the areas to create the shape I'm looking for. You can quickly change between removing areas and adding them back in by using the keyboard shortcut X to switch between the background and foreground colors. Use Ctrl-T to transform and rotate the object, hitting Enter when you're done, and use Alt-right-click to change the brush size. Now, the shape is pretty basic. You could certainly ditch the asset here and recreate it using brushes only, whatever's easier for you. To start off, I am simply dropping in my flower asset in roughly the size, shape, and angle that best represents the time card that I'm recreating. I have some preset effects on them as I'm reusing this asset from another time card I made, but don't worry about that now because I will just be removing it later and applying new effects. Once you've got the flowers in a position that you're happy with, put them in their own group. You can highlight them and do Ctrl-G, and that'll put them in its own group, and then create a new layer below the group of flowers. Then grab your paint bucket and paint your new layer with a light blue. Great. Now comes the most intimidating part of the process, which is the randomization of brush strokes to add texture to the background. It's very easy here to accidentally create a pattern with your brush strokes, so just try your hardest to avoid it as it will detract from the end result. I will be using a few different brushes to create the background effect, but they are all Photoshop standard. First I used the brush Round Fan Stiff Thin Bristles. I'm not sure the best way to decipher the names of these on a large scale, but you can just find them out by hovering your mouse over them. For me, I kept the brush strokes between 70 and 200 pixels, and every few brush strokes I would change the color slightly. Keep your brush stroke colors to only different shades of your background color. For instance, since I'm using light blue, I'm only going to be using similar shades of blue from light to dark to create the background effect. In some cases, I would alter the brush attributes, such as the length, how many bristles, etc., to create the effect I'm looking for. Just make sure not to make your brush too thick or it will start to look more like blobs and less like brush strokes. I think overall I used about a dozen different colors. Adding in some low opacity white strokes at the end will add some more realism to the brush strokes, creating a stronger effect. Here I'm going to alter the flower colors using a color overlay. I want the color to be about a lime green. Once you have the color that you want, you can copy the effect to your other flowers by alt-clicking and dragging it to the other layers. Create a new layer above your flowers and add some blue dots to the flowers. At this point, you should no longer move your flowers because your dots will be on a separate layer. Now we're going to create the greenery. Create a new layer where you're going to put all your leaves and vines. Then go to your brush. Ensure that you're using a soft brush, and for me I found about 5 pixels to be perfect. This is going to come into play in a second when we stroke the path that we created, It goes off of what the current brush is. What I'm doing is I'm using the pen tool to create curved lines that I wouldn't be able to do by hand. Because we're going to be simulating pen pressure on the stroke, make sure that your path is just slightly bigger than you think that you want it, so it doesn't end up shorter than what you were expecting. Once you've drawn and stroked all your paths, we're going to be adding leaves. All I'm going to do for this is alter an ellipse to get the effect. I can edit the shape by using the direct selection tool. Now create a new group and add all your leaves, rotating and transforming them as you want. I changed the length and width of a few to avoid everything looking exactly the same. Now the fun part. Put your greenery and flowers in one group and put a mask on it. Grab the brush chalk and apply some shape dynamics to it. This will allow us to create some randomization without a whole lot of effort on our part. Up the spacing enough that each stroke won't touch each other, and then apply an angle jitter of 100%. This will spin the brush after each click. Once it's set up, just click or click and drag to paint. Then you just add in your text and you're done. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and let me know any comments you have below. Thanks for watching.